Whether you are a tech junkie or a casual spectator, the word RAM might be something you have heard thrown around a lot. Random access memory, or RAM, as we call it, is not something new. However, it wasn't until recent advancements in hardware and nanotechnology that we have seen a huge leap forward in the amount of memory we can fit inside a portable smartphone. While that is awesome, this has also led to an overwhelming amount of options for the buyer and also an increase in the confusion that surrounds this often misunderstood buzzword. So how does this RAM thing really work and is more better when it comes to your precious phone's memory? This is Rupesh from TechnoSanta.com, and in this video let's get into the lanes of RAM and answer one of the most recurring questions about RAM on smartphones. Companies these days love to milk out the word RAM. In fact, this catchy three-letter word has grown to be one of the main selling points of smartphones these days, with manufacturers cashing in on misconceptions, pushing out smartphones with as much as 16 GB of memory. How much RAM does your smartphone actually need? To put things into perspective, the first ever Android smartphone launched, the HTC Dream, had no more than a measly 128 megabytes of RAM. Tiny, right? So how and why did RAM get from megabytes to gigabytes since then? Long story short, as Android evolved as a platform, so did the apps that ran on it. As more people discovered the power that mobile computing had to offer to enrich their personal and professional lives, the hype behind smartphones grew, and the pressure for the industry to evolve became imminent. And to handle all this demand, not just the smartphone but the hardware as well needed to be powerful. App companies following the direction also started adding heavier and more resource-intensive features. Then people began to equate larger RAM size to better performance, and smartphone companies were more than ready to serve, bringing multiple variants with different RAM sizes and price ranges for each of its products, hyping more RAM as better performing and more fast than the last. Starting off with the flagships, this higher RAM trend has trickled down to mid-range smartphones as well. So how much RAM do you actually need? The answer to this question is fair and simple. There's no one size fits all. In other words, depending on how much and what you use your smartphone for, the amount of RAM you need varies widely. So for someone who uses smartphones for calls, messages and normal social media browsing, 2 GB of RAM will more than suffice. But for heavy or power users, avid gamers or someone who edits long videos on their smartphones, the amount of headroom, a few extra gigs of RAM, is always appreciated. That extra memory lets you multitask while you game, significantly lowers the app launch time and makes the phone feel snappier. This also makes switching between apps way faster and reduces annoying lags that come along with running heavy applications on any device. But that doesn't mean you make your purchase decision solely based on the amount of RAM, like many smartphone makers today intentionally advertise. As conscious consumers, you need to find the sweet spot between your usage needs and budget range in a way that you don't end up paying too much on RAM that you will never end up using. RAM and performance. While RAM is a critical factor affecting performance, it isn't the only thing to consider while buying a new smartphone. There are many other factors that contribute to the overall user experience as well, some totally independent of RAM, while others facilitated by it. The chipset you use is one such factor. It contains multiple CPU cores along with GPU and other hardware components. The CPUs handle the core processing while the GPU handles the graphic duties. RAM acts as a buffer for them to make whatever processing the CPU does fast and fluid. However, it's still the chipset that does the bulk of the heavy lifting. So it's only natural that a weak CPU will continue to underperform even with 8 GB of RAM, while a decent CPU paired with lesser RAM will definitely outperform the former. Before making your smartphone purchase decisions, we advise you to go through its spec sheet and look for the actual processing power that the smartphone possesses. Making sure that your phone has a decent chipset from a reputed manufacturer should be an utmost priority, keeping the RAM as secondary. Also, before purchasing a smartphone, ask yourself what you need that particular smartphone for. The only one who can answer this question will be you. How much RAM does a smartphone need by 2021 standard? Apps have become more taxing more than ever these days. Even simple internet browsers like Chrome demand anywhere from 300 to 500 MB to run a few tabs at a time. Popular apps like Facebook, Messenger, Instagram and Snapchat point out that a minimum of 2 to 3 GB of RAM is recommended for optimal use of their platform features too. So if casual users all that you use your phone for, you should definitely look out for something with 4 gigs of RAM or more. This allows for a smooth user experience and you won't have to deal with many lags while carrying on with your day-to-day tasks. But what if you are a heavy mobile gamer? Indeed, when you add these cases to the mix, the performance requirements can get a bit higher. It's no secret that most games require an ample amount of RAM in order to run smoothly. In fact, many games like PUBG and Free Fire, among many others, point out they require a minimum of 4 GB of RAM. Then comes the system apps or the UI, in and of itself, where the system allows 1 to 2 GB of RAM and even more in some cases. So to keep every single task in check and the device running fluidly, 8 GB of RAM is what you should be looking for if you are into long gaming sessions and you want the best experience for your price. This not only will ensure a smooth performance once you have the CPU aspect nailed, of course, but also makes the smartphone age well over time. With ample space to spare, 8 GB of RAM will also allow Android to preload the most used apps, another handy feature that increases user experiences by leaps and folds for most commonly used apps. Most critics also agree that this feature is great for multitasking most middle to heavy sized apps together with minimum lag. To sum up, 8 GB of RAM is generally what we recommend to most users. It provides a smooth user experience without having to worry about lags and glitches, and also has the added benefit of being able to run almost anything you throw at it. That being said though, anything beyond that is definitely overkill. If you are willing to sell out an extra amount of cash for a smartphone with the same chipset, but let's say 12 GB or 16 GB of RAM, you are not really getting much back on your investment, except for bragging rights. But you know what they say. Your money is your money and none of our money. We hope you found this video informative and useful. And if you do, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it around with your friends looking to buy a smartphone. Thank you for watching. Have a great time.